In the 12 years since the release of its flagship film, the V/H/S franchise has spawned 6 sequels, a pair of spin-offs, and a forgotten miniseries released exclusively on Snapchat. Following last year's V/H/S/85, the latest installment in the found-footage horror series is V/H/S/Beyond, a collection of segments based on aliens and featuring some of the franchise's best and gnarliest special effects to date. Presented as a fake documentary about aliens, each segment of V/H/S/Beyond is broken up by talking head interviews with experts, including a longtime believer and scholar and a trio of YouTubers who specialize in visual effects and make a living by debunking purported UFO footage. That ideological balance is thoughtful if somewhat extraneous in a horror anthology whose primary goal is to maximize thrills and chills, as Beyond often does. Beyond begins with 3 quick and fun face-melting entries with the exception of the 5th, and arguably best, segment. Each short quickly devolves into gory chaos, starting with Stork. Directed by Jordan Downey and based on a series of works by graphic artist Oleg Divenko, who collaborated on the segment, Stork is presented mostly as bodycam footage captured during a police raid on an old house. Initially reminiscent of a frustrating first-person arcade shooter like House of the Dead, Stork becomes more compelling and more Resident Evil-like as the cops make their way to the attic, where they discover an unspeakable horror. The 1-2 punch continues with Dream Girl, about a pair of ambitious paparazzi hoping to nab some candid footage of Tara, the latest Bollywood sensation, on the set of her new horror film. And yes, there is a delightful song and dance number. It isn't long before our protagonists discover the wild truth about Tara in a fast-paced segment that speaks to concerns over the rise of AI in filmmaking and brings them to life in a hellacious climax. Justin Martinez's Live and Let Die takes common fears about skydiving to deranged heights, giving the viewer terrifying new reasons to avoid jumping out of planes. The segment starts in the sky with an impressively rendered UFO sighting before making its brutal descent to the ground below, where each new development is worse than the last. By this point in V/H/S/Beyond, we're 3 for 3, the segments are all engaging and well-paced, and the creature designs are impressive, not to mention, an astonishing number of faces have been ripped and or melted off. A furry detour before Kate Siegel's excellent finale Beyond takes a brief detour into Bonkers Town with Fur Babies, co-directed by Christian Long and his brother, actor Justin Long. The involvement of the latter makes a lot of sense once you've seen Fur Babies, about a group of animal activists who infiltrate a doggy daycare to find out what the owner, Becky, is really doing with her furry friends. If you've seen Kevin Smith's Tusk, you'll recognize the core elements of that film and its comically grotesque body horrors in this segment. While it's arguably more enjoyable than Smith's film, impressive, given the brevity, and the effects are delightfully disgusting, Fur Babies is the odd man out in a series of shorts about aliens. Thankfully, Kate Siegel brings us in for a solid landing with her directorial debut, Stowaway. Australian video gamer and former journalist Alana Pierce stars as a woman whose UFO obsession leads her on a journey into the desert to capture proof of extraterrestrial life. Siegel co-wrote Stowaway with her frequent collaborator and husband, Mike Flanagan, so it's perhaps pleasantly unsurprising that the climax of the segment evokes Stephen King's most terrifying short story, The Jaunt. Siegel's segment breaks from the pack in both style and substance, relying on editing and Pierce's naturalistic performance to convey crucial information. Pierce is a compelling screen presence in a haunting segment designed to linger with you as the credits roll. A good V/H/S entry with a weak wraparound. The main thrust of the wraparound segment in V/H/S/Beyond, aside from offering a brief respite between shorts, is a pair of videotapes that belong to a man who mysteriously disappeared. Each segment is presented as possible proof of an extraterrestrial encounter, culminating in the footage recovered from the 2 videotapes. As with many horror anthologies, the wraparound is, comparatively, the weakest link. When we finally see the footage from those tapes, requisite alien probing included, the visuals are somewhat underwhelming, especially for what should be a grand finale. V/H/S/Beyond is an entertaining addition to the franchise and likely to satisfy curious newcomers interested in seeing a solid found-footage horror film with wild visual effects. It doesn't reinvent the genre, and it doesn't need to, but there are some great gags and inventive designs that set Beyond apart from your average horror anthology. V/H/S/Beyond premieres October 4th, 2024.